Yeah. So, fucking, how you doing, dude?
Fine. How
Oh,
about
wait,
you?
no. That's probably not how we should fucking start this. So, I'm
Hmm?
Moon, and who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I'm Geo, or Geosearchef.
So, that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, ever since I've known you, I've been wondering how the fuck it's supposed to be said. And I basically just gave up and said, okay, it's fucking Geo.
Yeah. Most people ask me that question, but most of them just use Geo. The other ones are basically just search and chef, and you just combine them. Just pronounce it like English.
Amazing. And, how are you today?
Well, I'm fine. Saturday, a bit more relaxing.
Mm,
Haven't done anything for FAF today yet, but maybe I'll find some time later.
yet? Ooh. It's getting pretty late, but okay.
What?
So,
No.
what?
I just took a look if my volume changed, but it didn't.
Oh, no, that's fine. And I'll. Blah, 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 blah.
Take your time.
I really shouldn't be the one taking my time here. Alright, so your name's Geo, you're on FAF, and you do shit on FAF.
Yeah. So
And,
you wanna know which shit?
well, I think we'll start with the obvious part that most people in the know about. You are responsible for what we'll call this iteration of ICE.
Yeah, you can call it that way.
Yeah. What the fuck is ICE?
So, in a nutshell, ICE is the connection adapter or connectivity adapter, which will hopefully be responsible for proxying connections between people in FAF while they're playing in the future, which is a plan is basically to replace FAF's connectivity solution to make it a bit more stable. Did I go a bit into explaining why that works the way it does?
I mean, if
Oh,
you can do that, sure.
okay, so basically, most people in FAF have seen that indicator at the bottom of downloads client, which says direct connection or public connection, or it can also say proxy connection. What FAF basically does is when you log in, the server will test with your client if it can reach you. If that's possible, you get a public connection. If it's not possible, you get a private connection, and not a private connection, a proxy connection. And that is then set in stone, and the method that was detected that works is then used for connecting to other people. The issue here is that sometimes the connectivity check with the server can work when it's not working when connecting to other people afterwards. This is why people refaf, to rerun this connectivity test. And there's also the issue if you drop in game, sometimes FAF can just not reconnect, it's just unable to reconnect you. So ICE is not doing anything new. It's using the same protocols that FAF is already using, which are stun for discovering your address and turn for proxying you. The issue is that it runs this connectivity test only once, and this result can be false. It creates a lot of issues if you have multiple people in the same network, and it can break. So what ICE is doing now, it's a separate adapter from the client, and it basically runs this connectivity test each time you connect to someone. So each time someone joins your game, you and that person, and this person with everyone else, will run this connectivity test. So it's basically, if this connectivity test works, guaranteed to get a connection, because in the worst case, you get a proxy connection. And this will basically then be able to connect you to everybody else, either via a local connection, via a local network, a direct connection over the internet, or a proxy connection if none of the other works. And it will also be able to constantly monitor the connection, and then if it detects a disconnect, be able to rerun this connectivity test, detect the changed IP, detect that something changed, that you connected to your mobile phone because your power broke down or whatever, and will be able to reconnect you. If everything goes as planned, that's a different story. But, yeah.
So, you're telling me I can finish a fucking FAF game off my phone if I have to?
Yeah, we've tried that multiple times.
Jesus Christ.
Works perfectly. It's a bit shocking to see the first time, but yeah. In theory, it should work. Why shouldn't it? The software that's not doing it correctly. We have to give it to FA here. FAF already did this stun protocol in 2007, but ICE is basically a way to coordinate those tests, and it's using the other protocols for connectivity, and ICE hasn't been around for too long yet, so FAF had no chance back then. They did a pretty good job, but they had no proxy. This is why FAF implemented its own connectivity solution, which is, in my opinion, sometimes worse than FA's own connectivity when it comes to direct connections. But of course, FA supports no proxy. So everybody, basically, I think it's that way. I'm not quite sure, but I think everybody had to port forward.
Yeah, I think I need to port forward, but I'll be honest, I don't know how the fuck to do it. Like, I'm sitting here looking at the downloads client at the moment. It says I have a proxy connection, which probably
isn't too bad. Isn't too bad, actually. If anybody listens to this, please don't do this on your own without anyone telling you. But in theory, I've been telling multiple people to purposely block the port in the Windows firewall, so to force a proxy connection. Because I told you about the connectivity test. What can happen is that if you haven't forwarded a port, the connectivity test can still get through something called hole punching. And so the connectivity test can get through, while there might be a problem getting through your firewall or net when you're actually in game. So basically, it can happen that the connectivity test results in something that actually doesn't work when you're in game, which is why I've already been sometimes telling people to manually force a proxy connection. So proxy connection isn't that bad at all, but as far as I know, it's got some issues in FAF, which the direct connection hasn't. So if you can establish a good working direct connection, you should use that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work for me.
Not always better.
Like, my internet's fucking cancer at the moment, so that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, you also need to be able to expose some ports publicly for that, and especially carrier-grade nets get in your way in the case of that.
So, I'll be honest, not the cleverest guy in the world, but I think what you basically said, and tell me if I'm wrong, the gist of all of this is basically that it it tests your connection more often.
Basically, yeah.
That's it.
When you connect to someone, it just tries tons of different methods to connect to that person and takes the one that works. In the worst case, the proxy should theoretically always work, so you will always get a connection, but it can be better, of course.
Amazing.
So it just tries and takes what works instead of, in the beginning, just running one simple test and then staying by that result, which will oftentimes not work, as we see in FAF.
Yeah.
And then I've also heard from some people that the FAF proxy sometimes loses connection, which the client won't reconnect. ICE will do that. Maybe should I get a bit into the history of ICE? What happened? Why we are still here? Or
the thing is, like, dude, if you want to talk about something, fucking go for it.
Okay. So basically, the ICE project has been running for 2.5 years now, I think.
Wait, is this the FAF ICE project, or are we talking about like the concept of ICE in general?
Project, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The ICE standard itself is way older, I think. 2013, 2014, 2012? I don't know. Don't hit me on that one. So basically, I started the project 2.5 years ago, thinking that theoretically it shouldn't be too hard to connect you to other people. In practice, it is. And so the ICE adapter that we're using currently is the 5th implementation. Milne has written 3 ICE adapters. I have written 2 ICE adapters. And it started all off, I think, with Node.js implementation of the ICE adapter using WebRTC. WebRTC is basically the go-to library for ICE. It's a library which is intended to be used in browsers, so it's the way that most voice over IP calls that you do in applications like most messengers or online services, or Discord, I think, should use WebRTC as well, I guess, work. The issue there is it's a standard which is developed, I think, open source by lots of companies interested in this field, which are mainly Mozilla and Google with the Chromium engine and the Firefox Gecko, I think it's called. And the issue there is, let me think a second. No, I should get into that later. So basically, first we were doing this using Node.js. Node.js, for those people that don't know, is basically a way to run JavaScript, which is intended for writing websites, on a normal computer. So basically, using Node.js, people write servers or backends in the language that was actually intended for frontends, which makes web development a bit easier. And this library, WebRTC, was intended for web development, for being used in browsers. So we just took Node.js, or Milne took Node.js, and wrote an ICE adapter in there.
Was there any particular reason? Sorry, but was there any particular reason behind that, or was it just, hey, I know Node.js, let's fucking use it?
There was a reason behind it. WebRTC, the most common library and most tested and most stable library for WebRTC, not for WebRTC, for ICE, is intended for use in browsers. So it's intended for the use with JavaScript. It's a JavaScript library, and that's basically why Node.js was chosen.
Okay.
Because to use the library in the language it's intended to be used in. The ICE adapter in that, I don't know how stable it was connection-wise, but it had some major CPU load issues and some issues with high pings, probably, or high latency, sorry. I promised to myself that I would never use the word ping again. High latencies. Ping is a tool. The packet that is being sent is called the echo request, and the time it takes is called the round trip time or latency. Ping itself is just a tool. That's why I'm complaining.
So it's a personal thing.
For example, the ICE adapter is sending echo requests around echo responses, but it's not the ping. But that's just technical terminology. And so it basically had some issues with high ping or latency. And yeah, so Milne went ahead and wrote another implementation, which I think was the third one. I don't know what the first one was, but this one then used a native binding, so it was written in C++. It still used WebRTC, but it wasn't written anymore in JavaScript, the web browser intended language. So in theory, it should be way lighter and faster, which it also was. But it contained some bugs, which took a really, really, really long time fixing. I wrote a test client and test server for this. It was the first time I got involved with ICE, which was basically a way to automatically test the ICE adapter without launching an actual game, without FA, without everything. It was just a client that connects you to the server, runs ICE, and collects some test data automatically, and is able to perform simulations or scenarios automatically on the command of the test server,
and
which we then use to...
Is that the same one that we've run tests on before?
Yeah, we've used that task client. I don't know if you remember. Basically, the test client Java FX window that you start, and that just displays your latency to people without FA running at all. That's the
one you had tons of fun with me in.
Oh yeah, the one where you had tons of fun with inappropriate names. No.
To be fair, we found a bug. And you never would have found that bug unless I decided to call myself Herman Goring.
No, I wouldn't have. But yeah. Okay. So basically, we spend a lot of time debugging the ICE adapter. Mm-hmm. It had some... I currently not remember correctly. VK, which is another person or guy that got involved with fixing ICE, spent a lot of time digging deeply through the library code and through the C++ code itself, and he managed to fix those bugs after a lot of time invested in there. And so we finally had a working ICE adapter, which was in August 2018. We have a completely functional ICE adapter that could have been deployed in September. September the 21st was the scheduled deployment date. And yeah, so we tested it, and it turned out that games were lagging a bit. And we investigated it a bit more, and it turned out that for some reason the traffic using that ICE adapter was increased. So after investigating a bit, we found out that WebRTC, the library I was talking about, the probably best library for ICE, is enforcing encryption by default, which especially Mozilla and Google, I think, don't pinpoint me on that, but remember it that way, argued for doing. So I think I agree it's a good decision to encrypt traffic by default. The issue here is that the encryption that they're using is the DTLS 1.2 encryption, and it uses 17 or 27 bytes per packet to encrypt it. I don't know currently for sure. The issue here is that FAF packages itself are only between 20 to 70 bytes. So basically, on average, the encryption doubled the size of each packet, because FAF is using, or FA is using pretty small packets. So we had a working ICE adapter that caused double the traffic, which was a problem for people with, for example, only 0.8 Mbits upload.
Like Rackover.
Which we had. Like Rackover, yeah. She was the one. And
it's all her fault. You heard it here first, folks. It's all fucking Rackover's fault that we don't have ice.
No, but yeah. I want to get a bit more into that now, because basically you could argue that, yeah, it's only a small part of community, and they then have to play smaller games, because that way you only have to transmit data to less people. But the issue here is it basically means that everybody who was able to play like a sentence before is now limited to 2v2 or 3v3 games. And everybody that was able to play 12-player games or 14-player games would be limited to 8 or 10 players now. And this would apply to the entire community, and we didn't think that was bearable.
That sounds like a fantastic fucking decision to me.
Yeah, stable connections, but no, you can't.
No, stable connections, but no one's playing dual gap anymore. It sounds great.
That sounds great indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are like you couldn't play adaptive settings anymore, or Canis would be a problem as well.
Ooh.
The 5v5 version. It's 4v4 by default, I think. They're adaptive versions.
Well, I mean, Canis by default is 1v1. Like the OG
yeah,
Canis.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not into 1v1 FAF that much. I should get into more FAF anyways, but I don't have the time. And the time I have I spent coding.
Such is the plight of all devs.
Yeah, FAF or FA is an amazing game, but I would like more time to play it, but I sadly don't have that.
I'd like more time to play it, but I don't like queues.
What do you mean by you don't like queues?
Fucking lobby sim, man. Come on.
Okay, should I tell you this? Okay, I've been talking with Rox a bit, and we're currently planning out a matchmaker. Team matchmaker. Don't expect anything too soon, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been waiting 2.5 years for ICE. I think we can wait 2.5 more years for Team Matchmaker.
Yeah, the thing is, the Team Matchmaker is way easier to debug with ICE. The issue why ICE took so long in the first place is basically that it's really, really hard to debug. You have a lot of different setups at different ends, different network configurations, different routers with different nets. You've got different installations on people's devices. People have got different virtual adapters or software on their devices, like AnyConnect or VirtualBox or Hamachi, for example, and those all cause interferences and problems and bugs. So it's pretty hard to test, which is the reason why I wrote this test client and server in the first place. So basically, after abandoning the third ICE adapter, the C++ one, I had already written an ICE adapter just for fun while I was waiting for the others to fix some stuff on the C++ adapter, just to get more into how it works inside and understanding it a bit more. That adapter was terrible. It had a lot of bugs, and yeah, it was thrown away. So basically, after the third adapter was cancelled due to the bandwidth issue, I dug out my efforts on writing an ICE adapter because we were looking for a different library because we couldn't use WebRTC anymore, and there weren't a lot of options. And I discovered the ICE4J library, which is basically an ICE implementation for Java. So I gave that a go because I also know Java really well. We also searched for some other libraries because native library would probably have been preferable, because with the Java ICE adapter we would have some issues deploying it in the Python client because we would need a Java runtime environment. But ICE4J was our best bet at that case, so we went ahead with that. So I dug out my old ICE implementation that I just did for fun and learning, just to find that I somehow lost the code that I had in a synchronized cloud folder committed into a Git repo. So 2 backups and I lost that code. I don't know how that happened, but that was pretty fortunate, because that way I could basically take my previous experience and just rewrite the ICE adapter from the ground up. The ICE adapter itself is not that large. I wrote it in like 10 hours in 1 day. The issue is doing it right. You need to do the least amount of bugs as possible, because as I said, it's pretty hard to debug. So this way it was pretty fortunate that I lost the code, so I didn't reuse anything and knew exactly what I was doing due to already having it done before in a bad way. So I could avoid doing the same mistakes again. And yeah, the ICE adapter that I got out of that was pretty stable. Took some time to fix some bugs, but after that it was running. And then it was basically testing again and fixing some bugs, and that's been like the past half a year fixing those bugs.
So you said that we're on the 5th one. Is this are we counting that one you did for fun as one of them?
That's counting that one, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
you can take that one out. It was fully functional in the sense of all code was there, but it was messed up with a lot of bugs.
All right, just making sure, because I remembered fucking Brutus said that we had 4 of them, and then you say that we have 5, and then it makes sense that
you count all attempts at writing an ICE adapter, it's 5. 5 ones with actually completed code, not debugged code, but actually all of the code that should be there is there. And yeah, so basically nearly all bugs have been eliminated. The last bug that we had was a really, really terrible bug. It was about, I can't yet explain what happens. I've tried debugging it a lot, even going into the libraries itself, taking a look at the system calls they do to the operating system, and I can't figure out why it's happening. It's basically, it only happens on Windows. I've only so far experienced it on Windows 7 systems. I've only seen 2 or 3 cases. And basically what the system does is at one point it just closes my sockets, which are basically an abstraction of the system that I use to communicate or send network packets. And I can't figure out why that happens. I guess it's somewhat due to an antivirus or something. It happens if there are too many virtual adapters on the device. So basically now we're just using a workaround which just disables checking for those virtual adapters if the connectivity test fails for the first time. So there might be 1 or 2% of the player base who might experience some issues when connecting to a game at the first time, because it might take 10 seconds longer.
Amazing.
But afterwards, it's just a workaround. It will just disable the local network candidates will just try connecting via your public IP address on the internet or via proxy. Normally in the first attempt, it would also take in all of your local network addresses, which would mean if you've got any connect, if you've got a VPN installed, if you've got VirtualBox, VMware, Hamachi, Evolve, if you've got any of those applications installed that use virtual adapters, each of them has got an IP address assigned to it, which might only be a virtual address, but ICE is of course checking those, because it could be your local network address, and it could be using those to connect to the person sitting right next to you in the local network. So it will just disable them now after the first try if it fails, and then just retry ICE, and that should normally connect you.
Fascinating.
Okay, so basically it's working, but then there's the question I get always asked, when is ICE deployed?
Soon, TM.
Yeah, basically I'm wanting it deployed since like 1 week. I could work on it and we could get it deployed in 1 week. The issue is I need other people for that because we are currently running on the Python server and there is some ICE implementation for the Python server by Mulney. I don't know yet how stable it is. It should be stable. The issue is that the branch is like 30 commits behind. So there have been a lot of changes since it was made. And we have two Python server devs, but Rickover told me when I asked her that she's not attempting yet or daring to implement ICE or change it. I'm yet trying to convince her because it's basically just pulling the changes back. So yeah, I've also tried setting up the Python server myself, which has failed spectacularly on 2 different systems due to Python dependency issues.
Okay,
I haven't yet figured out how to fix those. I've had help from multiple people, but it didn't work.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I got this right. Hypothetically, if we went to the Java server, we would be able to just deploy ICE.
The Java server doesn't even support the FAF connectivity solution. It only supports ICE. In theory, we've been testing on the Java server all the time. We've been doing some tests on the Python server as well. But we've been testing on the Java server most of the time. The issue I have with the Java server is that it, as far as I've experienced, it still contains a few bugs. Games are still being displayed when they're already in progress. Issues with games having passwords if they have not. And there might also be some problems if you have a large amount of players on the server, because that hasn't been tested yet, of course.
Yeah.
How could it have been? So I don't trust the server, Java server yet completely, because of course it's not that tested. So, but yeah, in theory we could do that. And then there's also the issue of the Python client, which is the next issue. But yeah.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of things waiting on things, and I'm trying to make like a mental graph in my head of like arrows pointing to things that require what, and it's a fucking shit show. I'm trying to.
Yeah, basically, I'm waiting for people or for other projects to follow up or support it currently. The ICE adapter is done like.
Yeah, but then it feels like. It feels like
we had a lot of test games on December the 23rd, around that, and since then it's basically nearly done. Since January it's done completely with the last fix I just wrote here.
Okay, because
so it's been lying around for 2 months.
Lovely. The thing I'm trying to get is it feels like I have some people saying, "Oh, we need this thing," but it's waiting on ICE, and then it feels like ICE is waiting on these things, and
yeah.
I mean, do we just need to shut shit down for like the week and then drop everything at the same time and watch it burn?
Yeah. We have our first idea was to do the update incrementally. So basically, first do the ICE update and afterwards switch to the Java server. So that way, we would only encounter not that many issues at once. But now, most of the people that are important or involved in that decision or are actually working on getting ICE to work or deployed, as far as I know, agree with just going with one boom, because it's probably best to just deploy ICE with the Java server, have everything fail for 2 to 3 days, and fix all the bugs that come up at once.
I mean, it's like taking off a Band-Aid.
Instead of doing the entire thing 2 times.
Yeah. But, yeah, good luck convincing people of that, eh?
Yeah, we've also had an entire LAN party playing FAF just using the ICE adapter, which, as far as I have been told, worked flawlessly. Test games I've been seen work flawlessly, so I cannot guarantee anything. Of course, it can fail, but as far as I've seen, it has been fine in 99.5% of cases. Past tests. I haven't seen anything not working which couldn't be explained away by another issue, like the person's internet failing at that point of time.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good ICE is. If your internet sucks, you probably shouldn't be playing fucking FAF. Great.
Yeah, ICE will be able to reconnect you.
Yeah,
But
but your
the
internet's still
issue
shit.
is, of course, you will still be away from the game if you lose connection, or it will lag if you are unable to send the packets out that you need to send.
Fascinating.
ICE can't make it faster, or ICE actually consumes a bit more bandwidth, but it shouldn't be that much.
Yeah, but we're in the year of our Lord 2019, which I feel is it's an excuse that I feel is being used a bit more these days. Like I mean, I didn't want to rag on it fucking too much, but it's one of those weird things. It's just like, yeah, we've got this thing working now, but it's somehow using more resources than it fucking did 10 years ago. Like the client, for example.
Client is using too many resources.
What? Sorry?
Java client is like 300 megabytes of RAM. If you open all tabs, I think it's around 600. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Oh, mine. I mean, I've only had the chat open so far, and my client's running at about 600 megabytes, which is crazy when you think about the fact that the game is fucking smaller.
Did it fit on a CD?
What?
Did FA fit on a CD, or did it use a DVD?
If it was in 2007, it probably used DVD. Yeah, it would have used the DVD because like the Steam install is about what 4 to 7 gigabytes, something around there.
Subcom FA. Okay. Dual layer DVD, as I can tell.
Ooh, fancy.
Okay. Yeah. So, any questions about ICE? Anything you want to know?
I'm
Anything
still,
you
I'm
think
still.
I've
I'll be
forgotten?
honest. I'm still slowly trying to process all that information.
Yeah, it's been a long amount of time. It's been a lot of testing, and it's going through hell because it's extremely hard to debug. And you've got those bugs. Yeah, you know there is one, but now what? Person disconnected in game. Possible reasons? 1,000.
That reminds me. It's like, can you fix my computer? It's like, what were you doing when it crashed? I was doing nothing. Yeah, sure you fucking weren't, mate. Oh, and that's how you find the best porn. I mean, so if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
21 currently.
21. Okay. Because I'm just. So you've been doing this since you were 19.
FAF since.
Well, no,
I
this
was-
whole ice thing.
Oh, this ICE thing.
Yeah.
I haven't been there from the start. I started 1 year ago in ICE.
Okay, so you've been.
But I've joined FAF in 2016, so back then I was 19, I think.
Wait,
Wait
you
a
joined
second, no.
FAF in 2017, did you say?
2016.
2016. Okay, so you joined around about the time I did as well.
Thing.
When you were a little baby.
December 2016. As far as I know.
That would have been really close to
Yeah,
me
that's-
then.
Back then I started working on the client, downloads client.
Oh, so you went straight to the dev work.
Yeah, basically. I've been playing FAF FAF since 2013. Friend got me into this game. I really like FAF. It's a great game, but yeah, been excited to play it all the time. But sadly, not a lot of my friends like FA. Only one, so I've been playing with them a lot. That's why I haven't played that much FAF as I would like to have. But
Does he still play FAF to this day, or FA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
he's called Neuroxys.
Oh, the map dude.
The dude that wrote the map generator that I integrated into the client 2 days ago.
That I still. Oh, it's integrated?
It's not yet deployed. The pull request is currently waiting for review by Alex. But it's basically done. So there might be a map generator in a few days or weeks in FAF.
Like done, or a version of it done because...
The map generator itself is still an alpha version, but Neuroxys would like to gather some feedback about it.
Yeah,
So that's why it's being deployed.
I remember the problem was people trying to figure out how replays would work with a generated map.
Yeah, currently what we're doing is basically the map has a name which contains the version and the seed. And the client then sees the map name, sees it's a generated map, and then automatically generates the correct generator. And then generates with this generator the map based on the seed. So basically, if you have got a map with or a replay with a map name, it will automatically detect the version of the generator and download an old version. So the map is stored nowhere, but it will be able to generate all old maps that have ever been played on the fly once you need them.
That's pretty fucking fancy.
Yeah, the generator itself generates, in my opinion, playable maps. I haven't been involved in writing the generator itself at all. I've optimized it for polarization and speed, but the map generation itself is completely from Neuroxys, and it's still missing a bit of work when it comes to textures, all looking good, but gameplay-wise, it should be playable.
Whether or not the maps are good is completely up for debate.
Yeah, then you can just generate a new one.
Yeah, I guess. Depends. I mean, maybe if it gets put in ladder, probably not. But we'll see what happens.
I don't think it will get into ladder. The idea was modifying it so it can generate different types of maps and then using those maps for Galactic War.
Oh, yeah. Do you think you could input a seed?
You mean what?
Like, let's say, we've got the generic, whatever the fuck map it is, and then... let's say I wanted to run a tournament using with the random maps. Let's say I made round 1 and I wanted everyone to use seed A, B, C, D.
Basically, you could do that. The client is still missing that. It shows the seed, but there is no field yet to enter the seed into. Although there's a workaround for that, but yeah, we should basically just add that in there. And the people, once they join the game, they will automatically get the seed and generate the correct version of the map.
Yeah, but then...
So basically, one person needs to enter the seed, once there's a text feed for that, which is the only issue stopping it, and then everyone will get the same map. So basically, you could beforehand select the maps you want.
Amazing.
Basically, what that would do is the idea is about taking out the predictability and meta out of the game and make people come up with strategies on the spot. But you should be interviewing or asking Neuroxys about that. So that's his idea. I just optimized and integrated the thing.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So that's basically one of the other things I do, some client work, which has been suffering a bit over the past year, as I've been spending a lot of time on ICE itself. But yeah.
Anything specific on the client?
Probably not, no. Just fixing generic stuff, sometimes adding new features.
Okay. Any other interesting things?
What I'm doing in FAF, what is going on in the client, or
in FAF in general, like any other, like you've done client things, you've done ICE things, made a mod or anything?
No, I haven't got into modding. I haven't get into the game code itself. I've read through it sometimes. I've made some suggestions and talked to Kuril about possible features like transmitting data in and out of the game. This would, in theory, it's wild speculation and dreaming, but would in theory enable us to create a voice chat. If that's desirable, it's a different question. Because ICE has been designed for voice chat. So if you already have an ICE adapter, you could just send voice data over that with your team. That's just an idea. I've also been getting into Galactic War. I've been doing some work on that. But that will
Sorry, I'm just
probably
imagining.
take a lot of time yet.
No, I'm just imagining the fucking voice chat, just set in salts from some
That's why I said
fucking
that's
random.
a good question if that's actually desirable. Because yeah, there are some people that like trolling. You need a way to disable it, but it could be really interesting for parties.
Yeah, you know, there's a 100% chance that I'm busting out the kazoo the moment we get voice chat.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. And then I've also been doing some stuff in some smaller areas, like I've been changing some of the UID code, which was discarded due to Steam Link being enforced. I have been doing some work on the Discord bot, on the API, on the server. And one of the other things I do in FAF is tech supporting, very often on the forums or on the Technical Hub channel. And I'm also one of the server admins. Although I haven't done any mentionable server updates yet, but I'm oftentimes busy helping moderators who need something changed in the database, because our current moderator client doesn't yet support everything they need to do. I think Brutus mentioned that already in the last interview, if I watched correctly.
Maybe.
Because they sometimes, there's this issue with Steam linking, and some people link their Steam account to their Smurf account back in the days. So some of them are currently requesting the Steam account to be unlinked. It's not all of them the Smurfs, but I think some amount of them at least.
Yeah.
So the unlinking, for example, can't be done by moderators, or if there are issues with the account, if somebody got their email or something like that. Yeah. Reset it via the website. Yeah, that's basically it, what I do in FAF. Let's see where it takes me next. Currently, the projects I'm focusing are the Team Matchmaker or Galactic War.
Both.
While I'm waiting to get ICE deployed, maybe I should make some more pressure. Feel free to do so as well.
Make some what, sorry?
Create a bit more pressure. We could get ICE implemented pretty quickly, but we need a few people to work together for that, to make everything come together.
You wanna name drop, fucking shame some people while you're here?
No, I don't want to drop any names.
Okay, so we totally need no one specific to get ICE running.
Yeah, I'm not attacking anyone here, but yeah.
You hear that? No one get your ass.
It's a very complicated situation currently regarding ICE. Because on the one hand, the Python server and Python client aren't yet ready for that. We don't have any that experienced developers for that yet. So I need to try to convince those developers to help me rebase it, because I can't get it to run, and I'm not that experienced in Python as they are. And then there's also the issue that I can't just ignore the Python server and Python client and deploy the Java server and Java client, because you might have seen that the Java client still has a few issues. There is this large forum thread which needs to be worked on with the constructive feedback thread. People would like to be changed. And the Java server, I don't trust that one yet completely to deploy it. That may be the only way to get trust into it, by having it running and testing it. But yeah, I think we need to do some preparations and fixing on the Java server as well before we can deploy it. It's done, it's working pretty well. In my opinion, better than the Python server, but it's untested, basically.
It runs perfectly at 10% load, basically.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm stuck between, I can't get it in ICE into the old code. It's already there, but the code needs to be updated. And I also can't deploy the new stuff. So that's where I'm hanging in the middle of the air between them. As I would have had this deployed once I had enough free time, which was about 1.5 weeks ago.
That's right, because you're still at school, right?
Yeah, I'm studying
Yeah, apparently you guys
computer science, obviously.
Yeah, are you specializing in any particular field there, or
No, not yet.
not yet? Jeez, how long does the university go for over there?
5 years,
Fuck me.
if you include a master's degree, which I plan on doing, because I like it. Topic and what
Okay,
I'm
so you're
doing.
not specializing in anything yet, but you sound like you want
Nope.
to specialize in something.
Yeah, I see.
Sorry, what was that?
I see. I've got interest. I've got interest in multiple fields, so I'll see what.
Oh, so you're
Fine.
not sure.
I'm not sure yet. No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because it sounds like it's all over the place, although mainly in networking, but I don't know if ICE is what you want to do for the rest of your fucking life.
Probably not networking at all. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, computer science at first is basically the skill of problem solving. But then it's a lot of mathematics, of course.
Oh, maths is always fun.
Yeah. I really like math, but it can get too much. So basically, I don't need theorems. I just need something that works. Regarding that from a computer science standpoint, in my opinion.
Alright. And seeing as you spend all your time developing on FAF and you don't play FAF, what do you do for fun? Any other games you're interested in?
Currently, not a lot of them, no. I've been playing some Overwatch. I've been playing some League of Legends for multiple years, sadly. So much time wasted. Currently, I spend a lot of time playing FAF when I play something. So currently, that's about between 5 to 10 games a week at most. More like 3 to 6. With the other devs most of the time.
Well, that's 3 to 6 games more than me. So congratulations.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, still studying.
Yeah. Alright. I think that about covers it.
Okay.
So, it's been great having you on.
I don't think there's a lot more to talk about, so.
I mean, there is, but there isn't. But, yeah, thanks
Yeah, there are the FAF secrets, the stuff that is broken that can be exploited, but
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, we promised we wouldn't talk about that one time we killed a guy.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about flaws in some of FAF's architecture.
Yeah.
Not bad flaws, but allowing some stuff like rating manipulation in games and such things.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
I mean,
It could be done better, but it needs developer time to fix those things, and we don't have a lot of that.
Yeah, it's always it's a weird game of cat and mouse, all that, isn't it? It's, as the saying go, a lock only keeps an honest person out.
Yeah.
So
with technology, you can keep persons out even if they want to get in, but
yeah, but I mean, if someone really, really, really wants to get in, they'll find a way in.
If you really want to get in, yeah, you get in every time, because basically all software contains bugs. But now we're talking about nation-state level of I want to get in. Then you can get into everything, of course. But as an individual, you need a lot of skill if you actually want to get into a well-constructed and secured architecture.
And that is the story of how Vladimir Putin got 3,000 rating.
You're talking about the FAF player, not the politician.
No, I'm talking about the politician. It was a joke, darling.
Okay.
You know those things.
Because there's also a guy, yeah, the player called AIX Putin, I think.
I don't know
player.
Is he online at the moment? That's.
I don't know. I've seen him a lot of times in games.
I think I've seen his name a few times, but we've got AIX Mark on at the moment. He's Dutch. So, wait, is it Dutch or is it Russian? Yeah, it's Dutch. Amazing. So, yeah, I think we'll call it there.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, and yeah, Let's
Have
go
a nice day.
Oh.
And yeah.
Oh, let's go play some fucking games.
Yeah, we can do that.
Alright.